Okay. No, that part of it, remember, is that once the new wing is finished, whatever davening is in the main shul is going to be shifted there so they can do the work in the main shul, unless there's a decision made to wait and do that after the season. Okay, that I'm not aware of, but all I know is that that was the current plan. Okay, so, all right.
The new wing that was supposed to be ready for Rosh Hashanah, is that?
Well, Rosh Hashanah, I don't think Rosh Hashanah was a realistic. Beinenu, I know you.
That's the doubt we finished our Rosh Hashanah from time. It's for Rosh Hashanah.
Right. So that's
Well,
the,
maybe we're gonna have it.
Hey, Bob,
blow
they're
the
both
shofar
they're
from
both
Boba.
nicer.
no,
What is this?
we were delayed by the fact that they could not get, because the sealant, they finally were able to get the sealant for the cement floor, which they had to do to seal the floor before they were able to put down the,
What was it, sitting in a cargo ship?
yeah,
It was sitting in a boat off.
in a boat off the coast of California. That's been a big issue. Okay, good morning, Harvey.
Good morning.
Okay. All right, I'm going to start us off with our sponsors, and then we'll get into our Gemara for today. Okay, Sid, where are you? Hiding? Okay. That conversation we started, we'll try to finish at some point. Okay. That's learning sponsors. A Year of Learning, Sue and Arnie Gerlich, in memory of Malka Perlman and Philip Mann, and Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Beryl ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Yosef Meir ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Henya Rivka Pro Rosner bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, and in memory of family murdered in the Holocaust, Harav Tzvi Hirsch ben Shlomo Yaakov, Sarah bat Ephraim, Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Ephraim ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Adia bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Miriam bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Pesel bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shalom ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Shlomo Yaakov ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Shmuel ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch. Yeah, yeah. All right, there's up here, there's a place too. Okay. Sharon and Fred Liska, their family and many friends, in memory of their mom, Harriet Friedman, Edel Bas Yaakov, Leslie and Gail Kaplan, in memory of their parents, Harry and Marjorie Sedell, Irving and Pearl Kaplan, friends of Avi Gitler, Avram ben Shimon and Martha Gitler, Chana Bat Yeshaya, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren of Toby Paris, Sarah Tova Bat Yisrael Dov in her memory, friends of Joe Wolf, Yosef Ben Chaim, Charlie Gelfenstein and Sam Levine, in memory of Ramona Levine, Rachel Mata Bat Asher, friends of Nina Moinester, Nechama Asner Bat Yitzchak. Have a month of learning by Charlie Gelfenstein in memory of his mother, Dacia Gil Bat Meir Levi, by Boca Babes in memory of their dear friend Susan Workman, Kaya Sarah Bat Alta Yosef, Chaim and Phyllis Reese in memory of his father, Mordechai Ben Yom Tov Lipa, myself and my wife Karen and friends in memory of her mother, Nechama Bat Moshe HaKohen, Charlie Gelfenstein again in memory of his father, Meir Ben Yaakov, Marcia Federbush in memory of her father, Menachem Mendel Ben Shlomo, Reuven and Susan Podolsky in memory of his mother, Fredel Bashraga Feivel, Phyllis and Chaim Reese again in memory of her father, Pinchas Ben Avraham. A week of learning by Stephen and Edie Vigdor in memory of his mother, Mendel Bas Harav Shmuel. Today is the 16th, and therefore there is also a day of learning by Rabbi Dr. Yankee and Malki Honeg in memory of his sister, Chava Bas Harav Simcha Ben Yaman. May the Shemas, what? 16th, yeah. Okay, may Shemas have an aliyah, crank a rafia, without the Yeshir Shem Atzliah, L'chol B'nai Yisrael, a good Gaben Shtiyah.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Right. Stephen,
Amen.
it's time to get down here.
Yeah, hopefully very soon. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow.
Okay. All right, good. So we learned about the weather yesterday in the bottom of the daf, right? That's snow. Okay, said Rava, is good for the mountains. And rain, okay, forceful rain is good for certain trees. And a lighter rain, a more gentle rain, is good for fruit trees. A drizzle on the top of Dalet Amud Aleph, or pila, this drizzle is good for the seeds that are under clods of earth, right? Mahanyale, right? Mai urpila, and what is drizzle? Uru pili, it says, that the furrows rise, okay? Right? V'amar Rava, and Rava then gets, Hai Tzurba de Rabbanan, Dame lepartzida, that a rabbinic student, or, right? A student, but it could be a young rabbi too, okay? Is similar to the seeds and to the earth. Why? The chevan, the nabat, because once he starts to sprout, okay, he will continue to sprout and grow. And that's where we left off yesterday on Daled Amud Aleph, okay, about 4 lines down from the top of the Amud, okay? So we pick up Vahama Rava, says Rava, Hai Tzurba Mirabanan, the Ratach, okay, a student of the rabbis who gets angry, all right? Oraita hu dekam martacha le. It's his Torah study that gets him fahitzt, all right, that gets him angry, all right? As it says, Halo kol divrei ka'esh ne'um Hashem, that Hashem's words are like fire, right? That's why they call the organization Eshat Torah. Okay. Va'amar Ravashi, says Ravashi. Should tell that to my son. Va'amar Ravashi, kol tamid chacham she'eno kasheh kebarzel. Any student or rabbinical scholar who is not strong like Barzel. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, it means he can't be indecisive. Okay, is one shot. Okay. All right, a no Talmid Chacham. He's not considered a real scholar. Shenamar, right? Ukepatish yifotzeitz sela, like hammer striking a rock. Okay, the late Nachum Glatzer wrote an outstanding book on Midrash in English, if anyone is ever interested, called Hammer on the Rock. Right, so. Amarle Rabbi Abba the Rav Ashi, says Rav Abba the name to Rav Ashi. Atun, you guys, mehatam matnitula. Okay, you learn it from there. In other words, from that kind of that pasuk. Anan, we, however, mehacha matnitula. We learn it, however, from a different pasuk, namely dichtiv. It says in Dvarim, Eretz asher avaneha barzel. Okay, the land where its rocks are like barzel, right? Like metal. Al tikre avaneha ela boneha. Don't say it's rocks, but those who build it. In other words, building on the idea of Torah learning is what helps strengthen the land. Amar Ravina, says Ravina, afilu hachi, right? Right? Mibaye leinish lamelaf nafshe benichuta. Okay, interesting that Ravina says that. That even in that manner, we say what? That it's necessary for a person to, I'm going to use the word, train himself to be at times gentle or kind. Okay? Shneamar v'aser ka'as milibecha v'gomer. Okay, citing the pasuk. Okay, let's go on. All right, about third down the Amud and Daled. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani, he says. Amar Rabbi Yonatan. In the name of Rabbi Yonatan. And we get to a piece of Agadata here. Shlosha sha'alu shelo kahogan. There were 3, I'm going to say, individuals initially, who made entreaties, requests of Hashem, but not in the appropriate manner. Okay? L'shnayim hashivuhu kahogan. In 2 cases, Hashem responded appropriately. L'echad hashivuhu shelo kahogan. And in one case, Hashem, it's as if responded inappropriately. Okay, all right. We'll come back to that issue of, okay, in a moment. Ve'elu hein, and who are these? One, Eliezer Eved Avraham, Eliezer the servant of Avraham. The second, the Shaul ben Kish, okay, and the third, V'yiftach HaGiladi, Jephthah. Okay. Now the Gemara wants to clarify and tell us each incident. Eliezer Eved Avraham dichti. Why Eliezer? Because in Bereshit it tells us. He says, V'haya ha'na'ara asher omar eleha hatina kadech v'gomer. The young woman who I says, lower your jug, so to speak, to drink for the animals. And the Gemara says, Yachol afilu chigeret afilu suma. It's possible, right, that she could have come out a young woman who was lame, or a young woman who was blind, right? Eshivu kahogan. But Hashem responded in an appropriate manner. V'nizdamna lo Rivka. Excuse me. And Rivka appeared on the scene. Okay, Shaul ben Kish. What about his example? Dichtiv, it says. Zeb, all right? You need some water, Zeb? No. V'haya ha'ish asher yichnu ya'asrenu hamelech osher gadol ve'et bito yitim lo. So when it came time to fight Goliath, what happened? The king says, hey, anybody who's willing to come out and fight this guy, not only will I make him rich, but I'll give him my daughter, right? What happens? Yechol afilu eved, afilu mamzer. It's possible that who could have come on the scene but a servant, right? Which would not be appropriate, and certainly not a mamzer. Right? Hashivu kahogan, but Hashem responded to him. Okay, and how? V'nizdamein lo David. Okay, and he brought David. All right. Okay, the third example, Yiftach HaGiladi, Jephthah. What about him? Dichtiv, V'haya hayotzei asher yotzei midaltai beiti v'gomer. That which comes first out of my house, I will offer as an offering. What was the implication? Yechol afilu davar tamei. It's possible that it could have been something that is totally inappropriate, something tamei, right? Hashivu shelo kahogan. And he was responded in an inappropriate situation. Nizdamna lo bito. His daughter came out. Okay? Now, anyone want to comment on that? Michael, I see you're shaking your head.
No, I'm just.
It was right? Why do I say that? It was an inappropriate situation because,
His daughter.
well, not just that, because according to some midrashim, he could have had the opportunity to have the vow annulled. Right. That's the point. Vahenu de kama. And this is what we say, right? We'll get to that. It will get to that in a moment. Okay? Vahenu de kama laho navi Yisrael. And this is why the prophet said to the Jewish people, right? Hatsari ein begilad im rofei ein sham. Is it possible, the Yirmiyahu, that there's no, I use the word loosely translating it, no one in Gileadai, no one who can bring healing, no one who can bring a
The first phrase is a very famous phrase.
Right.
No bomb in Gilead.
right. Okay, the implication is he could have gone to somebody and gotten that vow nullified. Excuse me. Uktiv, and it's also written, Ashelot tziviti velo dibarti velo alta al libi. Okay, that was the second passage. Right. Ashelot tziviti, as we explained, that I didn't command. Zebeno shel Mesha melech Moav shene'amah. That tells us, in other words, having mentioned the fact that he committed the act of human sacrifice, Yiftach, the Gemara cites another pasuk and explains it to show that there were other examples of inappropriate human sacrifice. Example number one, Mesha, the king of Moab, who sacrificed his firstborn son in the hopes of winning a battle. All right? Vayikach et beno habachor asher yimloch tachtav v'ya'alehu olah. That was the first example. Second explanation of the pasuk for a second example. Velo dibarti ze yiftach. That's the example of Jephthah. Velo alta alibi. Okay, that's the third example. Ze Yitzchak ben Avraham. The third example being that Hashem actually did not want him. He was testing him, but did not have actual human sacrifice intended. And therefore, that's why the pasuk is saying that it did not come to my heart, to Hashem's. It wasn't in Hashem's mind that was the real intent. Okay. Amar Rebbe Barachia, he says, and here's our fourth example.
It's not personal.
Okay, but this case, it's not an individual, right? Okay. Knesset Yisrael, Sha'ala, Shalo Kahogan. And I'm going to use the phrase, the assembly of Israel, okay, did not ask appropriately. V'akadosh Baruch Hu heshiva kahogan, but Hashem responded in an appropriate manner. Shne'amah v'ned'ah nirdefa v'dat et Hashem, right? K'shachar nachon motz'o v'yavo k'geshem lanu. Okay, question of knowing and acknowledging. Okay, Hashem. Okay, in the morning. All right, and therefore the result question of bringing rain. Amar la HaKadosh Baruch Hu, biti at sho'elet davar shepa'amim mitbakesh, u'pa'amim eino mitbakesh. Interesting just implication here that in this case, the Jewish people are referred to as bat in the feminine as opposed to what we sometimes think bechor, okay, in the masculine. Okay, stylistically, he's pointing out, to hear you, there are times when you are requesting something that is desired. On the other hand, okay, there are situations where rain is not desired. Okay, right? Aval ani eheyelach davar hamitbakesh leolam. But I will be for you something which is where there's an ongoing, a continuous desire to benefit from it. As it said, Eheyeh ketal liYisrael. I will be like dew for the land of Israel. Va'od she'ela shelo kahogan. And further, they also asked another situation requested that wasn't appropriate. Amra lefanav, they said before him, Ribono shel olam, simeni kechotem alibech, kechotem al zro'ayach. Pasuk from Shir Hashirim, right? Make me as a seal upon your heart, as a stamp, so to speak, okay, on your arm, right? What happens? And here again, now we see why the beauty of the Gemara here in terms of literary aspect, not just learning. I just pointed out how come they use the feminine imagery of bas. Why? As we now see in the Gemara, biti at sho'elet davar shepa'amim nir'eh u'pa'amim eino nir'eh. We're talking about sneas, okay? My daughter, you are asking about something that at times it's visible, a girl's arm, right? Or even her heart, right? U'pa'amim eino nir'eh. And there are times when those locations on the body should not be visible, okay? Clearly, right? Aval ani.
Shouldn't be clear.
What?
Not clear.
It's not, it should not be visible, okay? Well, no, understanding the situation, okay? All right, Selach davar shenir'eh le'olam. However, I will do something that is, all right, is appropriately seen. In general, Shnema, Hein al Kapayim Chakotayim. Okay, another pasuk. Okay, let's go on. Ein shoalim et hageshamim. Okay, so the Gemara now comes back to our Mishnah, and it said a statement that we don't request rain, okay, unless we also use it at the same time to mention rain. Okay, so the Gemara raises a question here. Savru ha'she'ela v'hazkara chada miltehi ma'antana. Okay, it would appear that they see, or it may be a perspective, that ask and mentioning are the same thing. Okay, according to what Tana? According to whom might this be? Amar Rava. This is Rava. Rabbi Yoshua. This could be the view of Rabbi Yoshua, the Amar, who says Misha'at Hanachato, whose response previously was what at the end of Sukkot, when you put the lulav, you stop using it. Okay, that you would stop requesting rain and stop mentioning it at that time.
Start. Yeah, when you put the lulav down.
That's when
You start.
start mentioning. Okay. Amar le'abai, afilu tema Rabbi Eliezer, she'ela lechud v'haskara lechud. Even according to Rabbi Eliezer, we might say requesting is separate and mentioning is separate. Ve'ika da'amre, and there are those who say it as follows. Lema, let us say Rabbi Yoshua, as we go to the next Amud, that it's Rabbi Yoshua the Amar Misha'at Hanachato, who said it's from the time of it stopping, putting it down, end of Sukkot. In other words, you wouldn't ask, okay, but you could mention. Amar Rava, says Rava, Afilu Tema Rabbi Eliezer. You might even say it's Rabbi Eliezer. She'ela lechud v'haskara lechud. Okay, that again, they are two different things. One is specifically requesting for rain, the other mentioning it. Okay, now let's go on. A new piece in the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, ha'over lefnei ateva chuli. Okay, in terms of which shliach tzibur mentions and which shliach tzibur when they don't mention. Right? Okay, but we have a contradiction, says the Gemara. Okay, ad matai shoalin et hikshamim. Up to what point do we request rainfall? Rabbi Yehuda Omer, ad she'avor haPesach. According to Rabbi Yehuda, until Pesach is completed. Rabbi Meir Omer, ad she'avor Nisan. He argues that it has to be until the entire end of the entire month of Nisan. Amar Rav Chisda, and Rav Chisda says, lo kasha. Not necessarily a conflict. Kan lish'ol, kan lahazkir. On the one hand, it is to request the rain, okay? On the other hand, it's simply to mention, okay? Right? So what happens? Following. So one is mentioning here in the Braita, that's to mention, the other in the Mishnah. Okay? Mish'al sha'il va'azil. Okay? If we're dealing with the issue of requesting, okay, and then you go ahead. Lahazkir. All right. B'yom tov rishon pasik. If that, right? If that's the case, all right, then on the first day of Yom Tov, you would stop. Amar Ula, however, says Ula, aha, the Rav Chisda kasha. This explanation that the Rav Chisda has given, okay, seems problematic. Why is that the case according to Ula? Kechametz l'shenayim ukesha'ashan la'einayim. Okay, interesting parallel. He says, how do we know it's difficult? It's like chametz for your teeth and smoke in your eye.
Vinegar.
Oh, vinegar. Oh, chametz, right. Vinegar in your, right? It's
Gargling with vinegar.
it's bitter.
Yeah,
Okay, difficult. Uma b'makom she'eno sho'el mazkir. And in a place where we don't ask, request, we mention, b'makom she'sho'il, eno din she'yehe mazkir. Okay, and in a place where we right, ask, are we,
Requested.
right? Are we saying then that you don't mention it? Ela Amar Ula. So Ula is going to give his explanation differently. Trey Tana'ai Aliba de Rabbi Yehuda. We have two different Tanaitic explanations, interpretations as to what,
Students of Rabbi Yehuda.
right, to have different explanations. Rav Yosef Amar, he says, "My ad sheyavor haPesach." Rav Yosef gives a different explanation. What does it mean until after? What did he mean when he says until after Pesach? Ad sheyavor shliach tzibor rishon hayored biyom tov rishon shel Pesach. Until the shliach tzibor, the Baal Shacharis, right? Until he finished. Amar le Abai. So Abai responds and says as follows: She'ela biyom tov mi'ika. Do we really request rainfall on Yom Tov? Is that? It's not even. It's not even there in the davening, right? Amarle, he says to him, and yeah, Shoel Maturgaman, that the interpreter. Okay.
Rabbi asked for it, sir.
I'm not going to go with that. Okay.
That's what it means.
I'm going to question that shot. Okay. Sure. Maturgaman was the one who basically fatayched, right? He was the one who, when after the Torah reading, he would announce it, okay, in Aramaic.
Look at Rashi. Rashi says beferish. It's the Rav's drush.
I understand what Rashi said. Okay. That's how Koren explains it. Okay. I'm sorry. That's how Art Scroll likes to explain it. Koren gave a different pshat. That's all. Okay. They wanted us to understand that, and that's why there's a problem here. That's why the Gemara then asks, is it really the place of that individual to ask in that situation? Okay. That's the point. All right. He's simply translating the Torah reading. He's not in a place as a shliach tzibor, okay, to ask for it. Okay. And that would also be true, according to Rashi, if you say it's the rabbi's drasha. Okay. All right. She'enot tzarich letzibur, ela mechavarta kedaula. But it must be clear, according to the explanation of Ula, that it's two different opinions. Okay. Let's go on now. Rav Amar, my ad shiavor haPesach. So Rav says, what about this phrase, until Pesach passes, right? Ad shiavor zman shchitat haPesach. Until the time that they would have been finished slaughtering the
Word
Pesach
Pesach is
offering.
Never given for the holiday. It's
Korban
always
Pesach.
the
It's the
14th.
korban. Okay? Uketchilato kain sofo. And so it is the beginning at the outset, so at the end. Matchilato maskir, afal pi she'eino shoel. Whereas at the beginning, okay, we may mention, but we don't request. Af sofo maskir, afal pi she'eino shoel. So therefore, likewise at the end, we can mention, but we don't request. Now again, what happens here? Amar Abaye, Amar le Abaye, Bishleim Tchilato Maskir. At the outset, okay, it's reasonable to say we mention it. Hazkara Nami Ritsuye She'elahi. The mention is also a kind of appeasement or entreaty request, okay, as well as is similar to the request. Elis sofo, but rather at the end, mai ritsui she'elaika. At the end, at that point, is there any need for a request, an entreaty? Okay, ela mechavarta kedeula. So again, we come back to Ula's explanation that there were two views, two different statements regarding what Rabbi Yehuda meant. Okay, going on now. Amar Rabbi Asi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Halacha ka Rabbi Yehuda. The law is like the view of Rabbi Yehuda. Amarli Rabbi Zera the Rabbi Asi. And so Rabbi Yehuda Zera says to his colleague Rabbi Asi, Umi Amar Rabbi Yochanan Hachi. Did Rabbi Yochanan really say that? Vahatnan, but aren't we taught elsewhere in a Mishnah the following? Bishlosha b'mar cheshvan shoalin et hageshamim. In the third day of Mar Cheshvan, okay, we request the rain. Okay, Rabban Gamliel Omer. Rabban Gamliel, however, says B'shiv Abo on the seventh of it. Va'amar Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Eliezer says Halachak Rabban Gamliel, that the law is like Rabban Gamliel. What happened? Amar le Gavra Agavra Karamit. So the Gemara asks, you're taking one person's view to challenge another individual view. Okay, that's what you're doing? Ibayat Amar. If you want, I would say as follows. Lo kasha kan. We don't have a problem here with the view of Rabbi Eliezer. Lish'ol. Right? Kan, but in regards to Rabbi Yochanan, lahazkir. There he's talking about mentioning it. V'ha'amar Rabbi Yochanan. But didn't Rabbi Yochanan say the following? B'makom sheshoel maskir. That at the same time frame that one asks, one also mentions it. Right? Hahu lahafsaka. We say that seems to be to completion, itma.
It's only at the end.
Remember, that's what was talked about. Okay. Now, Vaha'amar Rabbi Yochanan. But didn't Rabbi Yochanan say elsewhere the following? Hitchil lahaskir, matchil l'sh'ol. If when one begins to mention Mashiv Haruach Marida Gashem, one can begin to request. Pasak mi l'sh'ol. Okay, if one stops to request, posek mi lahaskir. Okay, one stops to mention it. Ele lo kasha. But rather we can say here too, we don't have a problem. Ha lan, one is for us here in Bavel, ha laho, and one is for them. Okay, namely in, that's right. Maishna l'didan. So why is there a different situation for us? De'idlan piri b'dabra. Why? Because we still have fruit trees out in the field, okay? And we don't want heavy rains,
Here means grain.
right? Produce. Ledidho, and according to you, their view, nami idlaho ule raglayim. But wait a second, says the Gemara. Even in their view, you still have pilgrims that have gone to Jerusalem that are coming back. They don't want to be caught in the rain either. Okay? Ki ka'amar Rabbi Yochanan, b'zman she'ein Beit HaMikdash kayam. Rabbi Yochanan was discussing it at a time when the Beit HaMikdash was not in existence. Right? Hashta da'atit lahachi. Now that you've arrived to that, I'm going to say conclusion, that idea. All right? Ha vaha ledid ha. Both this reason and that reason is appropriate for them. Velo kasha, and we don't have a problem. Kan bizman shebeit hamikdash kayam. On the one hand, we're talking at the time when the Beit HaMikdash was in existence. Kan bizman she'ein Beit HaMikdash kayam. And the other in a time when the Beit HaMikdash was not in existence. Va'anan de'idlan trei yome. So the Gemara now asks, and we, in other words, in Bavel, where we are in diaspora, and we have 2 days, Hechi Avdina, and what do? What should be our practice? Amar Rav, says Rav, Marchil b'musafin, uposek b'mincha, arvit b'shacharit. In other words, we start saying it in Musaf, then we stop at mincha and arvis and shachris, v'chozer b'musafin, and then we continue again to say it in Musaf. Now, that was Rav's view. Amar laho Shmuel. And we'll get to that, okay? Amar laho Shmuel. So Shmuel says in response, Poku, va'amru leila Abba. He tells his students, hey, go out and go tell Rav. Abba, remember, is Rav's real first name, Abba Aricha. They were on a first name basis, okay? All right, nice to see that. Okay. Achar sha'asito kodesh ta'asoihu cho. After you've already made the day sanctified, right? Because you've said the appropriate davening, right? You included musaf in it and everything. Then you're going to flip it back, so to speak, and make it a non-Yom Tov, a non-holy day. Ela amar Shmuel. And so Shmuel responds, Marchil b'musafin. We start reciting it in Musaf. Uba mincha, and in mincha, right? Uposek arvit. And we stop in arvit, b'shacharit, b'chozer umarchil b'musafin. And then we start and we continue then in Musaf. I'm going to continue and roll over a little bit, okay? On top of Hey, Amud Aleph, Rabba Amam, Kevan Shehitchil, Shuveino Posei. He says, since he began, does that seem to say that he shouldn't stop whatsoever? V'chein amar Rav Shesha. And likewise says Rav Shesha. Okay, so Rava says you don't stop. Rav Sheshet says, Kevan Shehitchil, Shuveino Posei. Again, since he started, you don't stop. Va'af Rav Hadarbe. And so therefore Rav then recanted and he changed his mind. Da Amar Rav Hananel, Amar Rav, as Rav Hananel says in the name of Rav, Moneh Esrim Ve'echad Yom. We count 21 days. Kederech Shemoneh Asara Yamim Rosh Hashanah Ad Yom HaKippurim. So the same way we count 10 days from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, we count 21 days from the beginning of Tishrei, right? Through, which gets us through, ideally, most of, right, Sukkot, right? And then Umadchil, and then we start. V'kevan she'etchil, shuveino posek. And once he starts, he doesn't stop. V'hilchata, kevan she'etchil, shuveino posek. Okay, and the law therefore is, that's the practice. Once you start, you do not stop. And but we will stop this morning at that Mishnah, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody.
Good.
Have a good day.
You are good.
Have a good
safe
day.
trip, you and Lee. Okay, come back, all right, safe and sound.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All the
How you doing? All right.
Take care.
Good to see you again.
Well, it's good to see you down here. Whoop. I got it, Zev. I got it. Yeah. Okay, you just wanted to show me you could bend. See, that's. Okay, good. Uh-huh.
He was telling me about the four ways to interpret what's shot, remez, drash.
Shot, remez, drash, and so.
Now, I knew all, so he said was Kabbalah.
Right.
Drash was what rabbinic exegesis.
Okay, shot is the simple meaning of the
Right, and the
text.
remez is the hint.
Remez is allegory.
Yeah.
Okay. Drash is rabbinic interpretation. And so,
Rabbinic exegesis.
exegesis, right? And so is basically mysticism,
It's mystical.
mystic. That's, they base,
Can you just have another, what do you call it, the calendar for the.
oh, I have plenty. I don't know if I have them with me right now. I've got a Koran version if you want to look at that, but I do have it home and I can bring it tomorrow, all right? Sure thing. Yes, Bob.
When you inherited Soraya, did you start saying,
Yes, I did.
and now you
I
continue, right?
continue it, right. And since I started it there, I have to continue it, right. In fact, I had a discussion on that with one of my brothers-in-law, because since he's saying Kaddish, he's the one,
Leaving
I've-
the
he's
Tzibor,
leaving the
whether or not-
Tzibor, right.
Yeah.
So he contacted his rabbi back in Teaneck, and that's what his rabbi told him.
Not to leave the Kibbutzim?
Right.
Right.
Right. So. Yeah, it's strange because, it's really that they started it almost 2 months ahead of when we were
Right,
set,
right.
which is a big difference. Yeah. That's the case. Okay, take care. I'm glad to see you wore a fleece this morning.
Well,
Uh-huh. All right, that's okay, everything. Somebody for January lunch and learn. And I was asked by Lee and Sonia Madrich to look into another program, which I told them I had to send information to the rabbi, and I haven't heard back from him. So unless something changes in the course of the morning,
Would that be in December or January? Or
both of them would be January.
January.
Okay?
Because December is getting pretty full.
Yeah, all right. So I'll let, all right. So if I hear, then I'll get on by Zoom.
Okay.
If not, okay. Good morning, how are you?